Shalom, this is Chacham Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights, and here with another message, another thought. And I'm going to turn the light off, even though you won't be able to see my face, because I need to see the road. And I'm here with two people who are very close to me, and if they want to chime in, they certainly can, but I'm going to go ahead and give the message. And what I want to talk about is I want to continue this idea of good versus evil. And one of the things about the world we live in is that evil seems to reign free, whereas good is suppressed, shunned, and even dangerous. When we think about a world that is controlled by Yehovah, when that day comes that Yehovah decides to make his presence known again actively in the world, then we think of a world where things are set straight, where that which is true and right and just is the way of the world, and that which is false and untruthful and deceitful is shunned and pushed off to the side. Just the opposite of what we have now in the current imperfect world, in the current, shall we say, pre-redeemed or unredeemed world. It seems like it's been this way since the sin of the Garden of Eden, right? Right after that, we had our first murder. Cain murdered Havel, Cain murdered Abel. And ever since then, the world has been full of truth, and lack of truth and lack of justice and violence and oppression and deceit and all of these kinds of things. So what do I want to say? One of the things that is the most disturbing part of the world we live in at this point is that it actually becomes dangerous to say or even think the truth. We actually have a situation in this world, in whatever country you happen to be in. Right now I'm in the United States of America, which I call the modern Sodom, I call New York the modern Sodom and Gomorrah, but the United States of America is not much better. And so we have a situation where whatever country you seem to be in this world, saying or even thinking the truth becomes dangerous. There is economic pressure, there's social pressure, and then there's outright violence, whether it's individual violence, mob violence, or government organized violence through abuse of governmental power, whether it be through the police, the secret police, in this country, let's say the FBI, the CIA, whatever authorities out there may be willing or may be interested in pushing their own false agenda, their own falsehood. They will actively commit violence or punish those who speak the truth, because they believe that they are going to eventually, or they are going to permanently get away with their version of falsehood. And so they actively try to oppress any truth, actively, constantly trying to oppress any truth. Violence doesn't only have to be killing someone or maiming them or putting them in the hospital. Violence can be prison. It can be suddenly snatching them away in the middle of the night, taking them away from their friends and family, and throwing them in a cage like an animal in a dungeon for a year or 10 years or 20 years or 30 years. One of the people here whose I think grandparents used to say that grandparents grew up in Portugal and used to say that in the days of the dictator of Portugal, if you knocked over a statue, you were suddenly taken away in the middle of the night and thrown into a dungeon for about the rest of your life. Well, that's governmental oppression, and dictatorial, tyrannical countries around the world, such as China, North Korea, Iran, are said to use governmental oppression. But the lie about this whole thing is that somehow it is believed that the United States does not use it and Israel does not use it. Well, that could not be farther from the truth. The United States and Israel are both controlled by largely evil entities who are attempting to push their version of non-truth. And let's define non-truth: anything that goes against the way or the structure of Yehovah, the way that Yehovah has built the world. Okay, the structure that Yehovah has put in the world. Anything that attempts to actively rebel against it or go against it is a form of non-truth. So we have a bizarre situation in this world whereby people who speak the truth, meaning that they speak the truth of their belief or of the way that Yehovah has laid out this world, are now targeted by the various individuals, mobs, and mafias known as governments, to punish them or suppress them from telling or acting out on the truth. So that is a situation which is very disturbing, very upsetting, and it prevents people from saying the truth, and it prevents people from even thinking the truth. I could give certain examples. I'm trying to think what example I could use. Okay, I'll use the example that in Israel, if you say the simple truth that all of the Arabs, every single last one of them, should be thrown out of the land of Israel, and if they're not thrown out of the land of Israel, if they refuse to go, then the same thing that happens to a person who refuses to leave your house should happen to them. In other words, then they have to be violently dealt with. If you say such a thing in Israel, then you now become a target of oppression by the apostate, heathen, atheist government of Israel that presents itself falsely as a democracy to the rest of the world, when in fact what it does is it is just promoting Western liberal, multicultural, globalist values and punishing and actively oppressing anyone who does not subscribe to those values. So that would be one example. An example in the United States of America is if you say truth about, what would be an example? I don't want to insult anybody, so I'm going to skip an example, but I think you get the idea. If you see my posts, you'll see many of the things that I believe to be true. But let's say certain groups that have certain agendas, and if you say the truth about those groups, then you could find yourself at odds and with the powers that be. So what is the difference between living in Israel, the United States of America, Portugal, or any other country that is a tyranny, and living under the control of a mafia? Okay, if you live under the control of the Italian mafia, and you go try to expose the corruption of that Italian mafia, then you may find yourself dead or injured, or at the very least shunned in the community. Okay, well, there's no difference in the United States of America and Israel. If you go against the false agenda, the lies that particular mafia, whether it's the mafia of the government of the United States of America, which is a form of a mafia, or whether it's the mafia of the government of Israel, which is a form of a mafia, if you say the truth, despite the party line that mafia wants to infuse or wants to brainwash its people into, then you may find yourself at odds with that particular gang of criminals. So this is one of the most disturbing things about living in a world that is not controlled actively by Yehovah, his prophets, his judges, his soldiers, his chosen leaders, that we have to deal with a world whereby the truth becomes taboo, the truth becomes oppressed, the truth becomes actively suppressed and fought against, like classic example 1984, and falsehood becomes what is rewarded in terms of one's praise and actual rewards from the society and the government. So what better is a person who abrogates the truth for the falsehood that the particular government he lives under wants him to think? What better is he than a rat in a maze, right? The rat in the maze learns what good behavior is, or desired behavior, and what undesired behavior is, and he learns that through a system of reward and punishment. If he exhibits the desired behavior, such as he takes a certain route in the maze, then he's rewarded with a piece of cheese or whatever. If he takes the undesired route, then he is either not rewarded with anything, or he is given an electric shock. And so over time, he learns what route in the maze the powers that be, who are in control of the experiment, want him to take, and learns what route they don't want him to take. Well, if we as human beings become reduced to that level, to the level of rats, then what is the purpose of even living our lives? As human beings, as followers of Yehovah, as those who have faith in Yehovah and those who believe in Yehovah, we must speak the truth wherever possible. It's not always possible, so sometimes maybe we have to hide it or say it in a more subtle way, but wherever possible, we must speak the truth, lest we become rats in a maze and become psychology or medical experiments run by the governments or whatever other mafias, the corporations, the media. They're all in the same boat. We all know that by now. You know, the globalists, the government of the apostate state of quote-unquote Israel, the government of America, etc., etc., okay? If we do not speak up and say the truth, then we are no better than rats in a maze. So, with that thought, it is my blessing that everyone out there has the guts to realize the illusory power of authority. There is no authority in this world aside from Yehovah. He is the only authority. His world is the only real world. This world of physical incarnation is a world of illusion. And in this world of illusion, it seems that these entities of falsehood, these governments, these mafias, these philosophies, it seems that they have power, but they really have no power. Authority is an illusion. Only love is real. And the true connection between Yehovah and his children, those who are faithful to him, is a connection of love. So, once again, it is my blessing that we all keep that in mind, that we do not become rats in a maze run by other human beings who will all be dead in 70 or 80 or 90 years, and that we stick to the truth, believe the truth, think the truth, say the truth, and act on the truth whenever humanly possible. And that we never lose our connection with Yehovah, the Creator. We never lose our connection with the truth, and we never lose our connection with ourselves. Be brave, be strong, do not be intimidated, because the main tool that the powers that be use is intimidation. They're actually weak. They're extremely weak. They have no true internal power. They have no character. They have nothing. They are like a magician who uses sleight of hand. All they do is use illusion to project the illusion of their authority, of their godlikeness. But they are like the bully in the schoolyard. They are like the house of cards that if you resist a little bit or you poke at them, they fall, they collapse to the ground. Let's all remember that. Only Yehovah is real, only truth is real, only love is real. Be strong, love all those that deserve to be loved, those who love truth and those who are good to other people. Despise all those who don't, or first pray for their redemption, pray for their repentance, and if not, despise them and actively fight against them. And may Yehovah bless all the good people in this world. Amen. Thank you. This has been Melech Ben Yaakov of Karaite Insights with another message about good and evil. Please visit our website at www.karaiteinsights.com. Follow us on Twitter and YouTube at Karaite Insights.